The sun was already bidding farewell in a spectacle of crimson and golden hues, painting the sky with strokes of blood and fire. For many, it would be a beautiful, almost poetic scene. But for Lucas, that sunset carried no beauty, only a silent warning that something dreadful was approaching, a dark omen. He decided it was too late to turn back. The hours had passed faster than he expected, and the way back felt confusing, diffused, almost non-existent. It was that simple, impulsive decision that sealed his fate. Lucas had ventured alone into the forgotten forest, a dense, tangled patch of woods bordering the small village of Vale Verde, a place where stories were whispered from generation to generation like cursed prayers. The elders would always warn him with trembling voices and eyes filled with dread. "The forest has its own laws, boy. Not everything that lives there wants to be found. Some secrets are better left sleeping." But Lucas was a skeptic. A young amateur biologist, passionate about entomology, especially rare butterflies. His dream was to find a legendary subspecies, a golden-winged, black-bodied butterfly said to have been seen only once by a hermit who lost his mind shortly after. Driven by a childlike curiosity and blind confidence in science, Lucas had ignored the warnings. He believed that fear of the unknown only existed due to a lack of knowledge. But there, with the night dripping down between the twisted branches, even the laws of physics seemed to dissolve. The trees, once green and vibrant, had become looming shadows, contorted like ancient gargoyles. Branches reached out like starving hands. The path he had marked with colored ribbons had vanished, swallowed by the vegetation. The forest seemed to have shifted, reconfiguring its corridors, erasing his trail as if rejecting him. The air grew thick. A suffocating humidity took over, bringing the pungent smell of wet earth and something else, something chemical, acrid, almost metallic, like oxidized blood. The bird's song stopped suddenly, replaced by a heavy, crushing silence. It felt like even time had stopped. Lucas pulled out his tactical flashlight. It was powerful, but the beam barely pierced the oppressive darkness, as if the very air was swallowing the light. That's when he heard it. At first, he thought it was the wind, but the sound had rhythm and intent. Footsteps, but not human ones. They dragged, heavy, like something wet being pulled through the underbrush, mixed with a deep guttural vibration that echoed through the roots, a sound that felt ancient, organic, primordial, as if the forest itself was breathing, or worse, dreaming. Lucas began to walk faster, then run. His heart thundered. He tried calling his friend waiting at the trail entrance, but his phone showed no signal. The screen briefly went black. When it returned, the clock displayed 0000, though it was barely 7 p.m. Then came the smell. Putrid, nauseating, a stench of rotting meat, mold, and flowers, sickly sweet flowers. The combination made his stomach churn. He gagged, stumbled, and fell. A thick root, twisted like a snake, seemed to rise just in time to trip him. His flashlight rolled away and died, leaving him in utter darkness. From the shadows, he heard breathing. Right behind him, deep, uneven. And then the heat of its breath on the back of his neck, carrying the same foul stench. Lucas reached out in panic, and his hands touched something warm, sticky, and soft.
He shined his phone's flashlight toward it. Skin, human skin, stretched like leather, damp and bloated with gas. Nearby, a row of butterflies were pinned to a tree with thorns, like offerings. Then he saw the eyes. Pale yellow, glowing in the dark like dying embers. Dozens of them, watching from the tree line. The creatures were tall, gaunt, their limbs impossibly long and twisted. Their skin was part of the forest. Bark, moss, and leaves clung to their flesh like birthmarks. Lucas stumbled back, shaking. The trees were moving, slowly, deliberately. They were closing in around him, forming a cage. Branches groaned, and from their trunks emerged faces. Human faces, deformed. Some had mouths sewn shut. Others had eyes full of sorrow.
Some whispered, "Go back, go back." Others simply cried. From the soil, hands began to rise, skeletal, root-covered, some still wearing rusty rings or missing fingers. One gripped his ankle, another wrapped around his waist, a third pulled at his jaw. He tried to scream, but his throat seemed stitched shut from within. Only a raspy moan escaped, and then he heard his name. Lucas. It was his mother's voice, or sounded like it, but she'd been dead for 5 years. The voice blended with others, of children, old men, and even his own. A chorus of familiar tones layered in condemnation. Lucas was now on his knees, surrounded. The creatures dragged themselves closer. One stood before him. Its face was a mixture of rotten flesh and tree bark, its eyes hollow, lips absent. It reached out and touched his chest. Pain exploded through him. Something was piercing his ribs from the inside. He arched back and vomited soil, black, wet earth writhing with worms. His eyes rolled back. The forest was absorbing him. When he finally lost consciousness, there was no darkness, there was light, a strange, pulsating orange glow from beneath the earth, as if the soil was breathing. He was dragged downward, buried alive, but still aware, as if his body had died, but his mind remained. The next morning, the sun tried to penetrate the forest canopy in vain. The trees had grown denser, thicker. The path Lucas had carved was gone. No footsteps, no markers, as though he had never been there. A man from the village, hearing rumors of the disappearance, approached the forest's edge. He didn't enter, but through the branches he saw something, a golden butterfly with black wings, perfectly still on a limb. Below it, the ground exhaled a putrid mix of decay and sweet perfume. For a moment he swore he heard whispers. They called his name. He ran. No one dares step past the tree line now. Only the wind carries, from time to time, the faint weeping of those taken. And between the soft rustle of leaves, Lucas's name echoes like a warning. The forest sleeps, but it does not forget.